with a friend of mine who is now in Canada.
Yeah.
I understand the exodus of people.
Yeah.
But there's also the awareness that is now coming to Nigerians in diaspora.
Yeah.
I mean, you'll be amazed that a friend of mine confided in me that he's given himself 5 years that he wants to return.
Yes.
That he has 2 businesses in Nigeria that are booming. And then the reality is dawning on people abroad also that it's not El Dorado as promised, that we all have to come back home to fix this place. And there are more opportunities here, actually, than there are outside. But let us turn quickly to Akure, I believe, the state capital, where Northern Bureau Chief, all of them are in Akure now, in Ondo, monitoring this election. Ayodele Uzubaku is joining us live from Ondo State. Ewa, where are you now? Talk to us about what's happening.
Okay. I'm somewhere around Alagbaka. This is a Royal Bed Hotel, Royal Bed Hotel, and is a situation room for this NGO, the election day situation room, data situation room, and we are able to monitor the way they are collating the results. This one will be done independently, apart from the one that will be coming from the Independent National Electoral Commission. So what we are looking at here is that after the polling units, after what we have at the polling units, and the Form EC8A goes to the ward level and is turned to Form EC8B, and from that ward level, sorting accounting will continue, and they will go to the local government level, and it becomes Form EC8C, and one-on-one like that till we get to the central collation center, and that might take till sometime around tomorrow. But independently, what we've done is that some NGOs, civil society organizations, they have their people that they deployed across the local government to have a feel of what the results will be like. They are not at liberty to independently announce the results, but what they are trying to do is to look at the level of compliance, and at the end of the day, they are going to check with the Independent National Electoral Commission whatever is on the IREV, whatever INEC will actually declare at the end of today. So for this particular situation room, this is the situation here. This is what we have going on here, and they've made their projections, and those projections, they are talking about the arrival of materials, they are talking about the commencement of, votes, they are keeping tab of it, they are talking about looking at how peaceful the process actually was, and they're looking at vote buying, they are assessing the functionality of beavers, percentage across all local government, and they are looking at the conduct of party agents. They are looking at inadequate election materials. They are looking at incompetence on the part of the election officials. They are looking at low turnout. They are looking at some key indices. All indices that surround this election, they are looking at it. And the person at the center of this particular project, that is the KIMPACT Development Initiative, Dr. Abiola Akiori, is here with me. Doctor. So tell us, what did it take you to assemble this situation?
The situation room by KIMPACT, we've been here for about 2 days now with mostly young people who are assisting with the technology, data analysis, gathering data around issue of campaign finance, election violence, and also giving like real-time situation reports of the elections. And of course, we're using interactive data to generate information as things are going on, from the beginning of the poll today up to today. So we're still here trying to figure out some of those issues here.
Now, we're putting these logistics together and trying to get a kind of feel of what happened across the 3,933 polling units. What's the level of which of accuracy are you looking at here?
Well, the results are gradually coming out, and we had over 3,000 observers, and KDI has the highest number of observers across Ondo State today. And of course, we're taking information as it comes, from different polling units, and some of this are being uploaded in the data dashboard that we have, and they are speaking to a lot of issues from arrival of INEC to commencement of polls, to vivas functionality, vote buying, conduct of agent, and a whole lot of other things. Of course, there are other issues that we have actually raised at with our preliminary report this afternoon, which are issues that has to do with the violence in the election, that has to do with whether INEC has been efficient with the vivas machine, and delay in the polls, and a whole lot of other issues. And we have also made some call to action, to government in this regard.
Now, your initiative, looking at the turnouts, it might just be, we might not have 100% of what's transpired, but from what we saw, we're on the field together, but from what we saw at the Central Senatorial District, what do you make of the turnout?
Oh, the turnout was very low, and I'm really afraid if this turnout is not going to be lesser than what we had in 2020, and that's a source of concern, because it's raised a lot of issues around the integrity of the election itself. There cannot be election without voters, so it's raising that issue about, how convinced are people in the state electorate, so in terms of trust, for the system, to be able to come out to vote. This is not a good sign for Nigeria at all. It's really not showing that we're progressing in our electoral process.
So let's try and break the turnout down. In 2012, we had 38% in this same Ondo State. It went in sometimes in 2016, we had like 36%. The last election, 2020, we had, I think we had 32% or 33%. And somebody is saying that, look, it's going to take a miracle to have 30% in this exercise.
I'm even afraid whether we would even get 25%. So the forecast is likely going to be lower. But, we do hope that from what we saw, except if there are things happening elsewhere, this is one of the lowest turnout that I have seen in any election in Nigeria, particularly in Ondo State. It's really lower than what we saw. We were all here in 2020, and it wasn't as bad as you go to polling units where there was a particular one we went to where there were 908 people, have their names on the list, but we had just about registered voters. We have just about like 25 or thereabouts who voted. Even where they had 25, they only had 4. So it is really a serious problem, and I think it has to do with trust in the system.
Because
so something
I was about asking you that, what are those factors that militate against, it's not just INEC not carrying out voter education, not carrying out the awareness.
There are a lot of issues. Yes, trust is a major thing, and I think we need to begin to build trust, and we cannot shift the blame on any institution. I think it's a collective blame for all of us, as Nigerians, how we are redefining, our electoral process, how we're working towards empowering, people to be able to see election as a source of determination of what will happen to you and your future and the future of your children. The kind of candidates, that are coming up, whether they are raising issues or they're just doing political campaign or politics, because I think that's important. If you look at the American election, there were a lot of issues about what a particular party...
67% this time around.
Yes, what a particular party stood for, what the other party stood for. We didn't have that kind of, conversation here. What we had were issues about individuals, persons, and what have you. So the issue-based campaign is an important. Then the role of money, it's also there. There might be candidates that could have appealed to people, but because they don't have the kind of funds that the bigger parties have, they don't have that ability to be able to push themselves out. So there are a whole lot of issues. The process, the system, and others are also very important aspect that we need to look at. But I think most importantly, the integrity, this kind of thing can dent the integrity of the election. You can't have a vote that will not make you a popular candidate. Look at, no matter what, Trump emerged like a very popular candidate in America. So we need that kind of popularity, of candidates. So the fact that we don't do what we are supposed to do as a country, it's affecting. So education of the voters is also important. I don't think that we did enough in terms of, voters' education, whether as INEC or as political parties that are supposed to be leading. If you look at other countries, political parties, we need voter education. I didn't see much of that also being done by political parties. And it looks like the political campaigns also started late, because it didn't start in early enough. People don't even have a lot, to say about the candidates that were running. And of course, because we also know our approach of winner takes all also is also a problem, because you know that if there is incumbency, there is also a possibility that that might override the outcome of election. So those are some of the issues that I think must have been responsible for what we are seeing.
Doctor, I want you to take us through your situation and what this segment and those people you've assembled there, what they are expected to do.
I will do that with my colleague, Femi, who is here, who is going to introduce some of the things. This is our dashboard. Starting from dashboard, maybe Femi will join me on this.
All right.
What's the name?
I'm Femi John.
All right. Tell us.
Okay, so should we start from here? All right, so from the dashboard is just the summary of all of the activities that have gone from the field data today. As it stands at this moment, we have 1,329 reports that have entered. Of course, there are more than this. Which
report that you've gotten?
Yes, we've got in today, right, from the field. Of course, there are more reports which are unverified reports, but these are verified incidents and happening for today. And the report type...
Through your agents?
Yes, from the field observers, right? The report type, a lot of them, which is approximately about 91% of it, borders around the election day processes and procedure, and as it stands, we have 26 violent reports.
26 violent?
Yes, 26 violent reports. Across the 18 local government. And if you look
verified?
Yes, verified incidents. And if you look at the disaggregation of all of this, if you look at the disaggregation of all of the election day processes and procedure, a lot of them borders around the arrival of ANEC or ad hoc staff. We have the commencement of polls, we have peaceful process, we have vote buying, we have assessing the functionality of beavers and so more regarding that. And if we move away from that and we go to arrival of the INEC officials, one of the things we've seen today is that of the close to 500 report that borders around the arrival of INEC officials, one of the things we've seen is that there is this marginal figures of 35 locations where there is late arrival out of that. And it seems to say that today, it seems the deployment of INEC in terms of ad hoc staff or poll workers getting to their respective location really was top-notch. And I think it's safe to actually commend that process. Yeah, it must be commended, really. And if you look...
They had like a region of 70%?
Yeah, basically. And if we move away from that, one of the things we love to see from the processes is there are sensitive materials that need to be sealed before it gets to the polling unit. And we asked the field observers tell us if they were intact when they came. And a large number really said yes, that they were intact. Of course, we have pockets of places where they say the materials were not publicly displayed or shown to the people. And some places they said, oh, it was not intact when it came. But of course, if you look at this figure, to 400,
sensitive materials.
Yes, or sensitive materials, whether they were intact or not, sealed and the like. So, but if you look at it, these are just negligible in terms of the number of places. But if you look at yes, they were intact, a lot of them. And these are the local government where we experience, and local government where there are late arrival of all ad hoc staff and of course materials. But if you move next, and I think this will interest you, if we move next to commencement, one of the things for us is that we always love to connect the arrival to commencement. But if you look at the arrival of the officials, right, basically...
It's different from the time the first person will start voting.
Yes, it's different. So, but if you look at it, it's obvious that the staff came in early, got to the polling unit early. But if you look at now late commencement in terms of the number, it now came a bit high. In that, yes, 122 in the regard. But of course, this is not to say that, yes, this is not to say that there is late commencement widespread in the elections. No, that is not the point.
The time it took them to put their acts together.
Exactly. So even when they arrived early, but the polling unit, arranging the polling unit and all. In short, let me quickly take you through. Let me quickly take you exactly to some of the reasons. In short, number one reason is that in some places there were said ad hoc staff were even waiting for some of the voters to arrive. In some places, the time for them to actually address the people, which is a normal procedure, to address the people, it took a bit of time, so they didn't start by 8:30. But let's just look at this figure or the data. Between 8:30 and of course between 8:30 and 10, which is like around 9 a.m. to 10. A lot of the people that were said to commence late actually started within that period, between 8:30 and 9. All right, sorry, 8:30 and 9:45 to be precise. So, and that is unlike before, where we have commencement of polls starting like around 12 midday in some places. I remember in 2023 where elections, even in a place like Lugbe, close to FCT, started like 1 p.m. But I think it's still to say it is still fair, in regarding that. And these are the location in terms of LGA. Yes, where it started late. It's just the distribution of the 122. But by and large, if we put this in context of the overall location where we got report, it's still safe to say that this is just not too much of figure in that regard. Let's look at the functionality of beavers. Okay. If we look at functionality of beavers, this is the way we summarize this, really, that beavers really today had a good day.
Beavers had
a good day, yeah. That's the basic thing. Exactly. Because if you look at the cases, in terms of count, it's just 51, and there are over 3,000 locations in terms of PUs, right? So, and the cases of beavers malfunctioning is just 51 of them.
Out of like 3,000.
Exactly. 3,933 polling units. But there are some things to actually note, which is very, very important. We can't just, discard this figure. There are a few things to point out. What are the reasons for this 51? Number one reason is that there are incidents where it failed to capture the elderly, the aged, right? And there are conversations around the facias to say. There are conversations to say around the facias that it's not capturing because of wrinkle, because of because their faces has changed over time. But we also had this conversation from the technical angle that the facial recognition or biometrics process of facia do not really 100% have to do with the it has to do with the dimension, the polygons around the eye. But if you look at that, it then borders around the question that do we need to upscale the infrastructure or the framework behind the facial recognition aspect of beavers? Exactly. Or do we need to bring in another biometric option, which is the iris? And it's popularly known to be the yes. And it's popularly said that that is even the safest in terms of security, right? Because your fingerprint could be cloned. Mere having a tape, I can clone your fingerprint, right? But this is the number one point to actually note here. But to also add, because this is the process of accreditation.
To capture voter?
Yes, to capture voter. Of course, system malfunctioning, not matching, and all. Of course, this.
This should come from the commission.
Obviously. Oh yeah, but INEC had popularly said that beavers do not use network. That beavers do not use network. Yeah, INEC has popularly said. But yes, but if we let's dwell a bit on the no network, because it's safe to clarify that. When we dig down into that, it actually borders on the competence of the ad hoc staff, because that is the information the ad hoc staff gave to the people. But INEC as a commission will continue to say that beavers do not use network. But why is that ad hoc staff or the poll worker saying it is network issue? So it then borders around the competence of that individual in the polling unit. Right. So another thing I just want to bring out here is, you see, there were occasions
where voters failed
to present their PVC, were allowed to vote. So it borders on the yes. No, so PVC, the permanent voters card, right? So INEC has said no PVC, no voting. So PVC is what you use when you get to the polling unit to identify that you belong to that polling unit. But some of the things we've seen today really is the fact that you see voter check the display, the register that is displayed at the wall around the polling unit. Yes, that I am so number on that register, and go to the APO to say I'm number 35.
instead of holding on to your PVC.
To your PVC. So, and the individual look at it, you resemble the person on this register and tick, then you go. But however, this is the point. When you get to the level of beavers did accredit that individual because it shows that that is the person. Then the conversation here is that do we really need PVC in the process?
Do we need that physical
card in the process? So that is the question we need to start asking ourselves here. Right. I would have loved to show you a data, but it's not in this set of data, because if you look at the downward trend, of the process from when we come from registered voter, in 2020, there are about 1.8 to 1.9 registered voter, but when it comes to PVC collection, there is a ditch. I'm just illustrating with my hand, right? Then when it comes to accredited voter, almost half of the population that collected PVC went down with that. So the question is, in pure management process, when the stages are too long, there are issues, can we cut short the process? Can we reduce the levels of which before we get to accreditation and voting? So that is pretty much very important. I think we should look at what vote buying looks like today. So,
okay. I don't want us to mention political parties.
Apparently, and the data in itself is devoid of political parties. So we understood that already. In short, the basic thing is that I think we should just agree that vote buying is part of the process. That's just the point, because yes, it's something we need to look at really. And if you look at it in terms of approximate amount in naira that was spent, in short, about 95% of the data that entered today said that between 5,000 and 10,000, that is what was spent by
5,000
to 10,000. Yeah, if you look at that range.
Yaga Africa told us earlier that they had some areas 20,000.
Yes, above 10,000.
Above 10,000.
Yes.
Wow.
It's there. It's above 10,000, and because it's largely money. Cash today, you're trading with cash. There are places that there are places that bucket, I think it's popularly called pale, was used in exchange of votes.
We have EFCC officials. I saw them red in Akure.
Some people were arrested. Some people were arrested. Really, I think we should also mention some of this. We saw clips of DSS. We saw reports on the field of the security agent actually apprehending some of these people, and that brings to the point. Yesterday we had a stakeholders briefing. And one of the things we said is that vote buying will be widespread. Let us agree with that. Let us come to terms with it. But one of the things that we spoke about yesterday is the fact that what is the relationship, what could curb vote buying? Number one of the things that could curb vote buying is voter education. Doctor, I believe you agree with me. But it seems that voter education is doing little or no in this particular process, because when we are gathering data for over 9 months, we gathered data of voter education against vote buying, and we discovered that there is little or no relationship between that. There are voter education, but vote buying is not going to stop. Then it now boils down to the question of, do we need to move away from voter education to punitive measure? We need to start punishing electoral offenders.
Electoral offenders, vote buying inclusive.
Yes, vote buying is electoral offenses.
The buyer and the seller.
Both of them.
Vote trading.
Yes, but it is also very important to sound this note of warning, because sometimes it might be like victimization where it is easy to pick the seller. Yeah. But the buyer is also very important.
Yes.
Which is very key. Yes, both of them are very, very important. And I think we should look at party agent, the conduct of party agent. And the way I summarize this, oftentimes when we have such a conversation, is the fact that for today's elections, I think the party agent did more than what they're supposed to do, what the law gave them in terms of their jurisdiction. In short, if we go back to the landing page, there are about 23 or 26 reports of violence, right? The perpetrator of those violence, in about 20 of them were party agent. And I must say, yes, they are party agent. We've seen cases where vote buying led to violence at the polling unit, and it altered the process, right? In that violence incident, there are just about 2-3 places where there are disruption of polls, where there was ballot box snatching in Ifedore. did I say ballot box snatching? Destruction of ballot box, right? Where a party agent got angry because he was outpaid by the other party agent and decided to carry the box and just smash it and tear the ballot because it's not favorable to him again.
Yes, we have security.
Yes. There were even incidents of 2 security agents or agencies having some kind of altercation. Yes, on election day because of vote buying. Because there are different understanding of what vote buying is. that's the point. Yes, see and buy. And there are some people that, of course, let's leave that. And if we move away from, all of these things to the violent part of this conversation, one of the things that we also say is, if you look at the number of incidents, which is 26 of cases, violent incident that we saw today, I think it's also safe to say that the Ondo 2024 election, as of now that we speak, is relatively peaceful. Yeah, and if we judge from
isolated cases,
they are just isolated cases. Yes, of course, we can't throw away that figure, right? Because
any casualty?
Fatality? No fatality today. No fatality today. And we thank God we didn't lose anybody. And we thank God for that, really. From the data that we got from this data room today, no fatalities. But what is very key in the violence part is that we need to now start paying attention to party agents. If 80% to 85% of the cases today borders around violence because of vote buying between 2 party agents or party agent, in short, there were cases in Idore, the likes of Idore, where 2 party agents were having physical assault. Yeah, physical assault because there was a voter, an elderly man, that wanted to come and vote. And who to assist the man became the problem. And you know that if one of the party agents assists the man, it's automatic. It's automatically 1 vote for that party. So these are some of the concerns regarding the data. But of course, it's safe to say that the election is relatively peaceful.
I want to thank you. This is quite comprehensive. Dr. Abiola Kiode. Okay, let's see through the situation room. The situation room. Now we have the other part of the situation room here, and for you to know what the KIMPACT Development Initiative, KDI, KIMPACT Development Initiative, has done in the 2024 election of Ondo State, what they are trying to put together and how it was actually put together. So, Doctor, you want to see us through this? Okay.
Doctor said I should do this, so I'm glad and I'm happy to do this. So this section is where we have the data clerks, the entry clerks, where, in short, amazing people since 6 a.m. today, really. They've been doing a lot, reaching out to the field observers on the field, and they've been getting the information. So the data we presented actually is the really work of these individuals.
Okay. Okay. We take this breather. When we come back, we talk more. We're still going to come back to this situation room in the next 10 minutes. I need to pay these bills. When we come back, we talk more. It's still live on TVC Ondo 2024 election. We'll be right back after this time out. Please don't go away.
Thank you, AY, for the comprehensive report there. It does look like the numbers there, Mr. Abbas, tallies with what Yaga Africa has been reporting. 71% of polling units opening as at 7:30 a.m. 91% of polling units were in for actual voting by 9:30 a.m. It's not that a plus for INEC in this election.
Absolutely. I think we really need to commend INEC. The presiding officer of INEC in Ondo State, I think, has actually done a very good work. For the first time, I think across board there's a consensus that INEC's activity for today is actually top-notch. We should encourage them. And maybe other states should also borrow leave. That other states should also borrow leave. And subsequent elections, if they can also put this kind of a performance, I mean, that would be,